So I think, as you can remember, we plotted this. We made this plot and its loan amount against person's income, and we created clusters from this, and we also created a cluster column. And the clusters in red are the ones who I think borrowed the most, who borrowed the biggest, who took out the biggest loan amounts, and the ones in green took out mostly the lowest loan amounts, and the ones in blue were kind of in the middle. So the key is here, and what I wanted was to at least try to get an insight from this data. So I created I wrote this line of code. This I created another data frame using the group by method, and we grouped by the cluster and the person age. That means we made the cluster and person age the index, and we used the person income as the value, as the values we're trying to measure. The person income mean is what we used. So what I was trying to find was the average income for individuals at a certain age in a particular cluster. So for this cluster, the 0 cluster, which is these green values here, this cluster has the largest number of young people. They're aged from 20 to 29. It's mostly young people in this cluster. And if you try to look at this second cluster 1, it has like some 30-year-olds down here up to 35. So it's kind of an older cluster than this other one. So they're like in the middle aged. And then this cluster, it would be the same as the other ones, but for it, instead of starting from 20, it starts from 27, you know, and the oldest person is 144 somehow, if that's even possible, but it somehow ended up in their database. So this, we can say, is the cluster with the largest number of old people, and this is their average income. These are the different average incomes. So it's hard to understand anything. Okay, it's hard to understand much from plain data until you add visualization, where now that's when I try to create something like this using some code maybe I'll share. And it's person's average income against the person's age, the people's ages. So as we saw, the 0 cluster has more of young people, oldest being 29. So you can see the rest of the scale is kind of empty here, whereas cluster 1 has a lot of 30-year-olds, and cluster 2 actually starts from close to 30. The youngest person is 30 and onwards. So this cluster has like the oldest people, and we can see just from the visualization, you can see that people in cluster 2, the old people, and the young people in cluster 0 actually have on average lower incomes compared to the people in the middle cluster, because now these are the people, I think, in the middle of their lives. They're now like building, and they're having children, they're raising children, and they're working, building their careers. These ones have kind of retired. And these ones are kind of still studying, or they're still building themselves, apart from a few exceptions. There's few exceptional 20-year-olds who ended up in this cluster. Those guys who start life early, their 20s, they're in this cluster. So So in this cluster. So from this we can see that people in the middle ages, like in their late 30s, more of the middle-aged people have larger incomes, and you will notice that it's these middle-aged people that took out the largest loans. How we know that is if you see from the cluster here, the middle-aged people are represented by the red, and you can see this cluster, which has mostly old people. I mean, mostly the middle-aged people. They're the ones who take out a lot of loans because maybe they're trying to finish a house, or maybe they're trying to pay school fees and all that. And the people in the green, which is the young ones, or the people who have taken long to get their money, they're like lower down here. They don't borrow that much. Maybe it's just something like student loans and stuff like that. They mostly borrow for school, small amounts of money that become bigger later. Actually, some of these guys might be actually trying to pay student loans. No, you can't pay a student loan by taking out a loan. But I don't know what they do. But I just know the people in their late 30s, they borrow a lot of money to get by. Then our old people in the blue, some of them are still working. Some of them are, I don't think anyone is retired here, because according to this, the people in cluster 2, they're also mostly 30-year-olds, apart from these two. These two guys made the second cluster look very old, yet it's also as young as, somehow older than the second cluster, but still young. So I would say that they're retired, but they're certainly borrowing less, because it's a cluster for like a little more mature people. And yeah, so we've got that simple insight from this data that the young people borrow little. The old people also, they're not old, but you get the idea. These people here are largely older people here. They're largely younger people, and in the middle, they're mostly middle-aged people. And this guy of 144 years also somehow took out the biggest loan. Those are now insights in your data that when you find them, you start to do an investigation to see what's really happening there. Something looks fishy. So yeah, I just wanted to show you how to use group by to get insights into your data. So now we know the average income of the people of different ages, and we know according to those ages, we know the ages of the people in the different clusters we've got. So you can conclude that maybe the younger people borrow less, the people in their early 20s borrow less than people in their late 30s. That's like the insight we can draw from our visualization thus far. Yeah, I think I'll send the code for also these three graphs, and you can look at it and try to understand, or you can read it from here and type it yourself. Yeah, that's 9 minutes. I think I should stop there.